was about working with Wes and developing the character of Freddy Krueger for that first nightmare, and then later on, as you continued on, when they wised up and brought you back for part 2, and then for each additional sequel.
No, it was just a typical audition. I knew who Wes Craven was, and I imagined Wes to be much more like David Lynch, at that time, because I had only seen Last House on the Left and The Hills Have Eyes, and I'd seen him on a monitor in a new wave punk rock bar, over the bar in black and white, and the other end of the bar was a Racerhead on a continuous loop. And I had a crush on a little punk rock blonde bartender. She had like shaved head before anybody did that, little blonde bleached white stubble. Oh, she was so cute. Great tattoos, she had a great tattoo. She had Jim Morrison on her cleavage. Oh, she was gorgeous. And I go in there and I do a little late afternoon day drinking because I didn't want to get stuck in traffic, and I had to go check in with my agent. And so I equated Wes Craven with David Lynch. And when I heard that it was the only job that fit in the break in my schedule, hiatus we call it in Hollywood, I said, yeah, I'd like the challenge of working with him. And I think there was a little teeny voice in me, a little teeny voice left over of Robbie Englund, who was obsessed with his godfather's coffee table book collection. My godfather was a distributor for Simon & Schuster, the biggest distributor west of the Mississippi. And he had a whole room in his home, like a den, floor to ceiling, coffee table books and books that he was distributing. And one of them was called The Movies. And it had a 2-page spread of Lon Chaney in all his different makeups. It's a famous movie about him made in the 50s starring Jimmy Cagney, Man of 1,000 Faces. But he was the pioneer in special effects makeup. He even boiled an egg, took off the shell, and saved the placentia, and put it over his own eye to make it look milky and blind for a role. Probably the first contact lens. This is in silent movies. So all of that experience of loving horror movies as a child, going to opening night of Forbidden Planet, opening night of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, going to see Hammer films at the Saturday matinee with my lawn mowing money. I suppressed all that because I was this serious actor from the theater. I'll only do Shakespeare, and I was, the guy in the turtleneck with the corduroy jacket with the patches on the sleeve. I was that guy. And Wes made me remember that, made me remember little Robbie, the kid that loved. I can't tell you how obsessed I was with the science fiction movie, Them, with the giant ants and that sound effect. I think that movie was up for an Oscar, probably against 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. But I had kind of pushed that to the back of my brain. And I think when I understood the challenge of the Freddy makeup, and I was so intrigued with Wes, I think that little boy that was still alive in the back of my brain kind of said, you get to wear the monster makeup, which we all kind of wanted. It was just, it's man cave, boy stuff. And I think that little guy was still speaking to me a bit, that not just the challenge as a professional actor who'd done a lot of theater where you have to do your own makeup, but also I just think that the little boy in me just wanted to play with that stuff.
Now, I'm going to open the audience in a moment here, but you actually have a movie that opens up this coming Friday that you had a premiere for last week with Bill Moseley.
No, I have a little summer retro horror movie. I wish they'd have saved it for Halloween, because I think it could become a Halloween staple along with Halloween, and perhaps even eventually my movie, I always wanted to call it, the Midnight Movie, but The Last Showing, that I did with Fig Jones from Game of Thrones. And that's a pretty recent movie. I think that's 2018 or something, 2017. It's really a good movie if you haven't seen it. But I think both of those movies should be part of the Halloween season movies on cable and streaming. But my new one is called, and I just have a small part, and I'm always playing the old fart that tells you the backstory, you know. I'm the old priest, the old scientist, you know. I'm the old doctor, I'm the old fisherman, you know. In Stranger Things, you know, I was the father that you know, in jail that tells the backstory of Vecna and the children. But those kind of parts have an aria. You know, an aria is a long number in opera, a long song. And we use it in Hollywood to describe long speeches in a movie. Just really long ones that you need. You cut away and you see the history or the backstory, or you see, you know, flashbacks. And you have to work your performance to match the energy and the mood and the emotion of the flashbacks. And so I'm doing a lot of that. And I do that again in my new movie, Natty Knox. And it's Danielle Harris, who you all know. She's all grown up now and playing a mommy. And one of the guests at this show, William Mosley. But it's our little retro Halloween horror movie. But it's coming out this summer. I hope they bring it back. It'll probably be back streaming for Halloween. So if you miss it this summer, you know, because you're doing summer camp or whatever, I'm sure it'll be around for Halloween. And that's really going to be a fun time to watch it.
Well, I could ask you questions all day, but we want to get questions from these guys here. So have your hands up, raised up, nice and high. We'll get as many of you as we can. Let's start right here. I think, is that a pumpkin? No. Is that a pumpkin on your
Nobody?
That's
Okay.
That's a hot dog.
Questions? Cat got your tongue.
Good relish.
Hi, big fan. I love the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, but I'm also a big fan of your voice work. You played the Vulture on Spectacular Spider-Man, and I think the Riddler in the Batman too.
I think I'm up to about 100 voiceovers now, and I can't even remember. I have a hit. I think it's in Japan, but I did it here. Super Monkey Go-Go, Super Force. You know, I keep forgetting these, but it's great work, voice work, because you can show up in your underwear, you know, with a hangover, and it's just really fun to do, and it's really kind of saved me the last couple of years after COVID, you know, because I can do a lot of it at home or in a little studio in my hometown. But yeah, you know, I started doing voice work. I narrated John Milius's saga and memory film of what it was like in the early 1960s to be a surfer in California, and called Big Wednesday. And I narrate that, and that was 76, I think. So I've been doing voice work for a long time. Even strange things like somebody gave me the DVD of Fear Clinic to sign, which just has the coolest cover on it. Cover's better than the movie. But I have some great narration in that. I have some really good narration in that, and I'm kind of proud of that.
Let's go right over there. You have your hand up. Right. Yeah, with on here, Lily? Great. Sorry. The light shining.
I know who that is.
Hi, Robert.
Hi.
I wanted to give you a quick story. When I was asked, or I was told rather, to come up with a really cool amputation story, I was asleep, you know, when they did my amputation, and light bulb went off, and I went, oh my God, Freddy Krueger. So I went ahead and I sent you a message on your website, and you sent me this wonderful autograph that says, Christy, I got a leg up on you now. And I want to tell you that has helped me when I talk to people online who are either they've actually had it or are thinking about amputation. And I get out my pictures. And, you know, someone will say, hey, what happened to you? And I'll be like, Freddy Krueger stole my leg and I And it really helps to break the ice. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you have a great sense of humor. And I'm like, Robert helped with this. And I want to tell you that on July 27th and 28th, I am going to be going through classes to become a certified peer visitor for the Amputee Coalition.
Great. It's so great when people have, this is the key in healing in many instances, is to have people that you respect because you trust that they understand what you're going through. I was in a gym in my hometown for years, and this unbelievably buff ex-surfer, good-looking guy, and he would work out next to me, and he had the full amputated bionic, and from thigh down. And it was unbelievably high-tech. Steve, we were kidding about Bionic Man earlier, but it took me, a couple of sessions to get my courage up to ask him what happened, and then, can I see your bionic leg? Because it's the high-tech, futuristic nature of what's going on now in medicine is so incredible. And what you realize is people do want to talk about it. People do want to share with you, and get to the point where he would tell jokes all the time, and he wasn't surfing anymore. But I convinced him to go boogie boarding, bodyboarding, just take the prosthetic off, and he just needs one fin on his good leg, and go back out in the water, because he has great wave judgment and everything. And he hadn't thought of that, but it's knowing that technology is advancing so fast. Medicine is probably, biotech, I think they call it, is probably the fastest growing thing, even faster than Silicon. Maybe not as fast as games, but it's faster than what's being developed in Silicon Valley or with AI. What they're discovering in medical things. And you have such a great attitude, and thank you for your soon-to-be help with others.
Well, and thank you for doing this, because I about fell off my bed when I saw this. I was like, oh my God, that's just hilarious, but it just fitted so perfectly.
Well, you're younger than I am, and you know what my worry was? Not that we were joking around, because I could tell from contact with you that you were cool. But my worry was that you wouldn't. That's like an old school phrase. I got a leg up on you. It's not used as much anymore.
Right.
And I was worried it would be too old school. That was. All right.
I'm 55 years old, so I'm not that young.
Oh, you're a kid. I'd get arrested if I took you out. All right. Next question.
Right here. You want to stand up, sir? In the, I think it's green shirt.
Well, on behalf of everybody here, I just want to say thank you, Robert, for being here. Just look around. I just wanted to ask you real quick, from all the, I know
You again.
me again, I know, it's me again, so here. Anyways, so just real quick, I wanted to ask, you mentioned before about being in the makeup when you were like 12 and wanting like, oh my God, I want to do that makeup and be in the film. From all the Nightmare series, which one would you say was one of the longest days for you on set filming, and just with the makeup on, with the Freddy and everything?
Well, New Line Cinema was a little tiny company dealing mostly in foreign films, and they would have kept me in the makeup around the clock. I think there was a time, and I don't remember whether it was part 6, or whether Freddy's dead, or whether it was the first one. But on one of those, they really thought they could just send me home in the makeup. I'd sleep. And even after I take it off, and I clean myself, and I have a cocktail, because I've had a long day in the makeup, and I go home and I go to sleep and I'm exhausted. Poor Nancy wakes up the next morning and there's these little silicone and latex boogers and blood on the pillow. Robert, you know, and because that stuff gets in your ears and your nostrils, up your butt. I mean, that stuff's on your and you need that break, you know, and then the Actors Union, just that, all it asks for is 10 hours, you know, in between. And you know, we're losing a lot of those rights, but it's rough. Horror movies, like action movies and fantasy films, there's so many elements in them, with a special effect, with practical effects, with CGI, green screen, props, tricky props that you're working, choreography, that it's nothing to do a 15 or 16 hour day, nothing. And that's, you know, we get paid way too much for what we do and who we are, but we do work twice as many hours as civilians, you know. They get it once they get it. You know, there's always a guy in the set, some producer that doesn't listen. Well, why can't you wear the makeup all the time? Why can't we just leave it in? No, you gotta understand, it's killing me. It itches, you know. So you gotta always, you know, make sure that you kind of protect it, because then you can come back fresh and do a good job. But yeah, I've been in the makeup. I think one day I was in the makeup 18 hours. Yeah.
Someone in the back, let's go. How about you right there in the middle, right there in the, I think it's a green dress? Yeah. And then we're gonna have time for like 2 more after this.
And then there's ballroom dancing.
Different for you, but do you have a good story, like one of your favorite scenes when you were shooting V?
You know, my V story, gosh, I have, well, I'll tell you the dramatic story, as opposed to the insightful story. So I'm out on location by Santa Anita, the famous racetrack. It's beyond Pasadena, beyond the Rose Bowl, beyond the, you know, the hall of where the big New Year's parade is. It's real pretty. There's mountains there. They filmed the original Body Snatchers out there, and we're shooting. And the scene is a van pulls up, the door of the van opens. Michael Ironside, the great Michael Ironside. Michael Ironside and I grab an alien, yank him in the van, the door closes, the van tears away. We do it once, perfect. Stuntman playing the alien, so he does hit the floor pretty hard. Second take, we do it again. The guy does it 35, maybe 40 miles an hour tops, and we all brace ourselves. Great. We do it again. I don't know what's going on here. You know, we done it. Michael and I screech to a stop. The door of the van opens. We grab the alien. We yank him inside. The door closes. Fine. We have to do it a 4th take. And on the 4th take, by then, we're all getting a little sore. We put down a furniture blanket. Bad idea. But we thought it was a good idea. On the floor of the van, it's just, you know, steel with grooves. And we pull up. This is going to cushion the stuntman and ourselves. We pull up, the van door opens. We grab the alien, we drag him in. The door closes. We fall down, and the driver, the stunt driver, goes into practically 5th gear. So we all slide on the furniture blanket into the back of the front seat of the van. And Michael Ironside, the stuntman, hold on, and as the car hits 4th gear, I slide on the furniture blanket all the way back to the back doors of the van, which burst. Because my head has hit the lock on the door handle. It's just uncovered. It's like the inside of a wristwatch in there. And God just called us. Anyway, and I fall out into the street at about 40 miles an hour. And Michael Ironside stands over me. And if you know the great Michael Ironside, he has a really crudy scar, which he says, I think he was, you know, sewn up by Native Americans in Canada with whale bone or something. But He didn't want me to look like that. He didn't want me to have that scar. And he took me to a plastic surgeon in this really wealthy area up by Santa Anita, Pasadena, and where they filmed Body Snatchers. And it's the guy that took care of Michael Jackson after he caught on fire in the Pepsi commercial. And if you know anything about that, that was much worse than we all know. He had much more scars than we think. And it was painful. Burns are painful. But this guy had moved from Beverly Hills out to Santa Anita because he didn't want his kids growing up in Beverly Hills. And Friday night, he sits me down. Michael says, "You've got to have a plastic surgeon do this. You can't have an emergency room guy do it because they stitch differently. One stitch is like this, one stitch is like this, less scarage. If you got a little girl, she trips on the skateboard, take her to a plastic surgeon to sew it up." Anyway, I now had a goose egg out to here, my eyes swollen shut. I thought I was never going to work again. Guy gives me JB on the rocks, 3 fingers, and a shot. I drink the scotch, he gives me the shot, he sews me up perfect. By Monday, I look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. I like full Quasimodo, and I'm going to start reading books on directing. Right? Just no more acting. 2 weeks later, nothing. 47 stitches here, trapdoor scar. And Michael Landsides took me to the right doctor and saved me. So that's my big V adventure. And I think we have to say goodnight.
Thank you so much.
So for our last question, do we have a kid out there who has a question? Do we have a kid? Out there? Okay, we'll go with you. Yes, right there, Sandy. Yeah.
When's the bar open?
Will you disappear in the next?
When will you disappear? Will you disappear in the next A Nightmare on Elm Street remake?
No, look, I'm too old to play Freddy. I can do some
Or will you disappear?
fight scenes. No, what I'm saying is, I would love to be invited when they remake Dream Warriors to cameo as the Doctor, played by the brilliant Priscilla Pointer in the original, who doesn't believe in the collective nightmare. Because I think that would be funny, tongue-in-cheek, an appropriate horror cameo for a remake. And I would transgender and I'd play it, as a man instead of. But I'm a big fan of Priscilla's. I saw her my first time in New York on Broadway, and her daughter, of course, is Amy Irving. Carrie, okay, the Fury. Come on, kids, catch up. Anyway, I think there's something kind of appropriate and right about that, and it would be the appropriate cameo if they do get around to remaking Dream Warriors, which I think, actually, if you took a poll or a vote, is actually the most popular of all the Nightmare films. Chuck Russell's. A quick parenthetical, because we're here, and then we'll wrap this up. I did a charity thing with Heather and the whole cast of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 at the Whiskey A Go-Go with the ghosts of Jim Morrison. Just amazing. And we read Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 for people that paid the money to go to this charity. It was the original first draft of Dream Warriors by the guy that wrote Shawshank Redemption. And the writing between the dialogue, it's like reading a Stephen King novel. It's phenomenal. Now, I know at these cons, they sell scripts and mimeograph duplicates of scripts all the time. For a lot of my movies, not just Nightmare on Elm Street. If you're walking around Sunday with a cocktail, and you go by one of the dealers that's doing scripts, or he has scripts, look for a first draft of Dream Warriors. I'm telling you, it's a great read, and it'll look great with a plastic cover on it in your collection. Will we say goodnight? Hey, everybody.